Right. Let's dive right in. A bit of background, because today we're going to be doing the follow-up to Animalize, which is Asylum. Now, before I do a bit of background, it's important to note that a lot of the information that I have comes from Paul's autobiography, because Gene says absolutely nothing about this whatsoever. There is nothing in his autobiography that really mentions this album. The period surrounding this album, like the years that, you know, he's talking about other things, he's talking about his personal life, things that are going on. He does not talk about this album. So if I'm not quoting Gene, and it's very one-sided, it's very Paul, that is why. And I do apologize, but as you'll find out, Gene is very absent during this time. Gene is not really an active team player in the band. But anyway, after they... sorry, I said that really weird. After... Anyway, after they had shot the back cover for Animalize, Mark St. John, the guitar player who had played on Animalize, got a rare arthritic condition, which causes swelling. Swelling basically to the point where whatever body part has been affected becomes essentially immobile, and either immobile or just very, very, very painful to move. According to Paul, this condition normally affects the ankles, but in this case, it struck Mark St. John's hands. And in Paul's words, if you're going to have any part of your body swell, it shouldn't be your hands. I mean, I can think of worse things. Maybe not as a guitar player. As a guitar player, yeah, probably the worst thing.
Is that what he meant?
I guess, yeah. I don't think in general, though. It depends what you do, really. If you're a long-distance runner, you'd rather your hands swell, than your feet. I can think of worse things. I'd rather have giant hands probably than giant nipples. If I had to pick between the two, if you're like, well, would you rather have giant hands or giant nipples? I'd go with hands. Do you know what I mean? There's something that really rubs me the wrong.
Head would be rough as well.
Head is bad. A chin as well. A really big chin or a nose. Actually, nose. Actually, yeah. I don't know. Actually, I think I could deal with a big nose. In any case, things are not looking good for Mark. Not good because, as Paul said, he is the lead guitar player in this band, and his hands are, by all accounts, ginormous. So, even though Mark was optimistic that he would recover, the swelling did not go away. Now, this is obviously quite a big problem because, Animalize sold very, very well. Animalize did good. And, they've got a tour. They need to go out and tour it. And Animalize sold very, very well. So, it's important that they hit the road and capitalize on it. And if one thing matters to them, it is money. They like money. They're big, big, big fans of money. They fucking love money. So it's important to not miss this opportunity. Anyway, they had to tour. So they decided to get a stand-in for the tour. At least initially for a few shows. Now, whilst they had this stand-in, the idea was that they would have Mark backstage. So Mark would be backstage essentially waiting, and then if one day his hands are fine, he'd come out and he would play. For a stand-in, they hired Bruce Kulick, whose brother, Bob Kulick, played on Paul's solo record. You may or may not remember that. But he did. Days went by. Days turned into weeks, and Mark's hands did not get any smaller. And because of that, he did not play a note on that tour. I'm actually not sure if he ever played live with them at any point. I'm pretty sure he didn't. Now, eventually, they had to let him go because he just, according to them, he just couldn't continue. They couldn't continue in that way. It didn't seem like there was an end in sight, and it just made more sense for him to focus on his health. Now, the band say it's because of his condition. And because of his condition, that made it impossible for him to play live. But Mark actually disputes this. He said that the band was sort of weird with him from the get-go and didn't like him. And basically that the issues he was having with his hands were just a cover-up for whatever reason. I'm not really quite sure why.
Yeah, this is what I heard, which I'm glad you're mentioning.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah, I read this.
Why though? Why? I mean, I guess you would cover it up. I guess just not to seem like dickheads, because this is fourth guitar player now. It's number 4. It's quite a lot of guitar players, and maybe they didn't want to come across as like, oh, we're just like a pair of like control freak assholes that like, you know, that keep firing.
God forbid.
Yeah, God. That, you know, just like tear through members. I mean, I guess that is the angle, but this is, in a weird way, you know, this idea that they had used the story as a cover-up or as an excuse is sort of corroborated by Eric Carr, who didn't really like Mark St. John at all. He said that he thought Mark St. John was arrogant. He was condescending, and that in general he felt that Mark thought he was overqualified for the role and did not take criticism well. Like, at the same time though, like Eric, like you're in a band with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, unless like he truly does believe in the pecking order of the band, like you have to work your way up the food chain, like a business, to then, you know, to then be a derogatory, horrible bastard to everyone around you, basically. Unless he does truly believe in, you know, the sort of social hierarchy they have in that band, which he might do. There was also a big disagreement that Eric had with Mark when they were recording. Well, Eric says in this video that I watched of him, where he was talking about Mark St. John, which is a really terrible... The quality of the video is very, very, very bad. There's this constant noise in the background. It's like him phoning... I think he's on like a radio station and he's on his phone, and all you can hear is... and Eric's voice kind of going... like that. But I heard him talking on this show, and he was saying that, you know, all these things about Mark. He's arrogant, overqualified, whatever, stuff like that. And he said they were recording apart. They were recording bass for Exciter, which doesn't make any sense because Exciter is not off Animalize. That one is off Lick It Up. So I think he's got his wires crossed there a little bit. But anyway, he says that Gene, and this is a quote, let Mark play bass to give him the opportunity to play bass on the Kiss. You know, kind of offered him this chance to play bass on a Kiss record. And he kind of fluffed the part up a little bit, and Eric gave him not a bit of shit for it. Just said that kind of passing note sounds a bit weird. And apparently Mark hit the roof a little bit and didn't take it very, very well. So he seems a bit difficult to work with. However, what I have to say to that is, Gene, play your own fucking bass line.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's what I say. You are the bass player. You play your own fucking bass. We're like, I will allow you the opportunity to play the bass. It's like, he's not. Well, why would you do that? He's not the bass guitarist. Anyway.
I'm in a movie. I don't have time for these things.
I have to rehearse my lines. No, apparently Gene was sat there with them. Gene was sat
Rehearsing his lines.
he was on the console. At 12 o'clock tonight.
I just imagine him practicing, and Gene is in the corner being like, me, more. Unique, New York.
She sells I the seashore. Anyway, it kind of goes to show the sort of maybe I don't know. I'm getting this sort of Stockholm syndrome sort of vibe off Eric a little bit. I feel like he's firmly in the palm of the hand of Paul and Gene a little bit at this point. It's like because he's like very much like Gene gave him the opportunity to play bass on the record. He gave him a shot. He gave him the chance, you know. So I don't take that from them. In any case, Mark is gone. You know, like he kind of went out. He was sort of like a shooting star, burnt very, very sort of bright. Well, he sort of that's a bad enough. He burnt bright-ish, I guess. Do you know what I mean? But in any case, now, he is our fourth Kiss casualty. But I'm almost tempted to not call it that, if that makes sense, because things do get a little bleak going forward, and that's kind of putting it a bit lightly. But in any case, he isn't in the band anymore. So, guys, where do you stand on Mark St. John? You know, what do you think of the highs? What do you think are the lows? Danny, I know that you were particularly, you know, quite complimentary about his guitar playing on Animalize. So why don't we start with you? What are your thoughts on the overqualified, giant-handed man, Mark St. John?
I mean, it is hard, obviously, to do a Kiss casualty on him because he was only there for one album.
He was not there long,
and he didn't even play on every song on that, or at least the things I was complimenting.
No, he didn't.
No, but some of the highest moments of lead guitar that we've had throughout all of Kiss, in my opinion. The guy could play guitar like a motherfucker.
Not anymore.
I think, really,
hands are too big.
But this is I think his quote, the quote is, the arthritis thing was really a cover-up for the other reasons. You know what I'm trying to say? That makes it sound like it didn't even exist.
Oh,
that it was just
a
complete cover-up.
I think there's. I'm tempted to believe you because you know what? As we'll get into the aftermath, what happened to him after his career, he still played in bands. He still did
exactly.
things.
Yes, I saw that too.
So yeah. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
Yes. Well, no, I mean, because there isn't much to say other than for such a short time in the band, I think he did fantastically because he was able to make an impression on the handful of tracks that I heard him on. I don't think he could ask for much more than that. We didn't really get to see him as much of a songwriter or even much of a personality or like a stage presence or anything. All I could really say is the guy played some very good guitar. And what more can a lead guitarist ask for, really? I did read up on what happened to him towards the end of his life, and I don't know, but I think it's kind of too sad for the podcast, really. It's really grim what happened to him. It sounds horrible.
It is grim, but I am going to say it anyway. Because, you know, it's in the public public interest. This is music. It's a music history. I'm not going to make light of it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair.
I tell you, you made an interesting comment there about an interesting comment about not knowing him much as a personality. He's the only member of Kiss I have never heard say a word. I've never seen like an interview of him. I've never seen anything like that in terms of that sort of personality and what he brought in that respect. There's literally nothing. I mean, there probably is. If you went looking for it,
refreshing.
There's probably some like bit of press or something like that he did. But other than that, you know. To me, he's an enigma.
He is an enigma. I remember I thought that of him when I remember walking home with you, Alexei, at school, and I think you mentioned him to me, and all you told me was like the tragedy of it. That this is like this guy who got a big break with Kiss and then developed this horrible disease. And I remember thinking, God, that is just, that's awful.
It's terrible,
That's like one of
yeah.
the worst things
Yeah.
ever. But now, from his, the reason I don't mind bringing it up is it's because his own words. We're not even sure that's true. So just to keep it about the music, the guy played some very good guitar solos, and that's great. So that's a plus. I think he's on the right side of musical history. Alex, what do you think?
We've done everything you said there. And it's doubled by the fact that the guitarists before him all seem like big characters in the sense of Ace being like this cool guy. And then also everything we heard about Vinny, even though he didn't say much.
Slippery
he definitely
character.
felt like he was a big presence.
Yes.
Yeah, like we just heard a lot about him. So poor Mark, like he is an enigma. We don't know much about him. I think that's so sad what you said, Alexei, about he didn't get to play live with them, or that's what you're guessing. Which
That's a guess. I could be
that's a
wrong.
real shame. Like, surely if you are joining Kiss, that is the number one thing, is to go on tour with them because of the reputation they have and the kind of shows they put on. So to not even to get a little bit of that's really unfortunate. But we said on the last album he did a really good job considering the circumstances and everything.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, my feelings are that he obviously is a very good guitarist, and I think he added a lot of kind of shreddy flair and color to their music. He's kind of actually, I think, a sort of shreddy dive bombing version of Ace. Really, I think that his style is a lot more chaotic than like Vinny's was, and I think ultimately that added a lot of sort of flash, like Guitar Hero flash, to their music. And I think Vinny sort of lacked that a little bit. I felt Vinny's was a bit more restrained and methodical, and I think both have pros and cons, both those approaches. But I think on Animalize it works more often than not. I think for the most part on Animalize his playing was really, really good.
Yes.
I don't think that album would have benefited from a more restrained style. I think that he was as good as they were going to get, really. In the same way that I don't think Mark would have been very good on Creatures. Like, I don't think he would have been good on, like, I Still Love You or any of Gene's songs, any of the more kind of bluesier songs. I think he would have been, quite a bad fit. I mean, in a way, he's the only one that we've done so far with no sort of obvious lows, like no sort of obvious, like, that was really bad. But that is it's only out of, that's only because he was in the band for such a short period of time. But no, he was good. He did the job fine, and he will be missed. So the aftermath. What happened to him after he left Kiss? Now, this that I'm reading comes from his Wikipedia page. Same with Peter. The same with Vinny. I'm just going to read this straight off his Wikipedia page. So, in January 1985, St. John teamed up with vocalist David Donato and drummer Barry Brandt of Angel, whoever they are, to work on developing some demos. By March, he was playing live again. See? Playing live. He could do it. See? Something sketchy going on.
Yes.
Netflix need to make a documentary. He appeared in an all-star jam session at the FM station club. The lineup included Rudy Sarzo and Tommy Aldridge. St. John also performed at a sold-out audience at a benefit jazz concert for Greenpeace. That was good. It's good of him. Some of the musicians playing alongside St. John include the Steve Hooks Band, whoever they are, Stu Nevitt of Shadowfax, whoever they are, Slide Hyde, who? Slide Hyde, who the fuck is that? Oh my god, he's a trombone player. He's got Slide Hyde.
Oh, okay.
He was in Supertramp. What?
Slide Hyde and Supertramp.
Well, Supertramp he did.
Cool.
We are young, we are free. That band. Well, no, that's a different band. Supertramp were a British rock band.
No, you're thinking of Yeah, they've got a similar name. What are they called?
Oh wait, no, this is a band that was formed in 1970. Yeah, this can't be them because Supertramp are like a 90s
do that
band.
Song that's like Dreamer.
Oh no, it is. Who did that? We are young, we are free. Who's that band?
Who is it's Super something? What are they called?
Okay,
wait. I'm googling it.
This band.
People, if anyone's listening,
this band do a really good song actually called "Goodbye Stranger." That is a fantastic song. I highly.
Super Grass.
Oh, it's Super Grass. It's Super Grass. What? All right, Super Grass. Not the guy from Super Grass. And I cannot remember what this was in context. What the context of this was. Slide had. Oh yeah, because they played a benefit concert with Mark St. John.
This is what people tune in for.
And this looks like a jazz lineup. Al Aarons of Count Basie. Count Basie's like a.
Damn.
What? And who was Shadowfax then?
That's
Shadowfax.
I don't know.
Shadowfax are like
Shadowfax is from Lord of the Rings.
He's Gandalf's horse. He's Gandalf's horse when he becomes Gandalf the White. St. John and Donato. Sorry, who was the vocalist he was making demos with? They formed a band called White Tiger. They had written most of the material for the album in mid-1985 and set out to complete the lineup with which to record. The band also included St. John's younger brother, Michael. Mark St. John's middle name is Leslie, by the way, if you're curious. He's called Mark Leslie Norton is his name, in case you wanted. Yeah.
Go.
Sounds like he's from Leeds. Do you not think? That's a proper, like, Leeds name. Mark or Leslie Norton. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? It's my name is Michael Leslie Norton. All right, anyway. The band included his younger brother Michael on bass, but was completed with the addition of a Brian James Fox on the drums. While the independent release did well, selling 50,000 copies. While the independent release did well on that level, selling 50,000 copies, and the band gigged around California, White Tiger joined up with Gary Lane, owner of Logic Productions, who promoted many top bands in LA. St. John and Lane became good friends, meeting for the second time at Trojan Studios in Garden Grove, California. How do people know this? Who wrote this? Like, how do people know that happened? I don't think that's amazing. That someone like knows like. I mean, there is no citation, by the way. There is absolutely no citation on that at all. But even to make that up, why would you make that up? Yes, it's sad, though, isn't it? Be like me making I was in a band called Dead Cosby Notes, sorry, for listeners. Maybe it was household name. Is that me making a Wikipedia page for us? But I'd probably just end up slagging the guitarist off like 5 paragraphs.
You could do that.
But that is where, at the Trojan Studios in Garden Grove, California, that is where St. John and Lane came up with the idea to play the legendary club known as the Hot Spot, known as the Hot Spot, located in Huntington Beach, California. Why is this relevant? Why is this relevant to anything? Oh, because they decided to play a gig. Oh, they up and decided to play a gig. It doesn't say how the gig went and what came of it. Oh. Anyway, the band did not manage to break into the record industry and split while working on demos for the second album in 1988. I need to listen to this album. I definitely need to give it a blast. White Tiger. St. John teamed up with Jeff Scott Soto, who I think also, I could be wrong, also played with Vinny, but I'm not sure. He was a vocalist for Journey, if anyone's interested. He teamed up with Jeff Scott Soto in 1988 to make a demo. St. John also did some session work performing lead guitar on Living for My Lord on Ken Tampling's 1990 album Axe to Grind. Tampling is an inspirational Christian rocker more famed for his involvement in the band Shout. Tampling has also co-written material with Gene Simmons of Kiss. St. John... and that's it. Is that it? That little nice little side quest we went on there for a second into Ken Tampling's career. St. John also worked with former Knight Rider star David Hasselhoff, even appearing in his video "Is Everyone Happy?" brackets citation needed. Now things get a bit juicy here. St. John made a demo in 1990 with fellow former Kiss member Peter Criss. This wasn't on Peter. I don't think this was on Peter's Wikipedia page, was it?
Oh.
I think there were that many failed musical projects. I probably just forgot about it. There was at least like 9 failed musical projects. This band, known as The Keep, that does ring a bell, actually. The Keep does ring a bell. This band, known as The Keep, became what was essentially White Tiger. This lineup performed live just once on May the 2nd, 1990, at a drum clinic at the Guitar Center in Lawnsdale, California. When the band started shopping their demo around, which was credited as Peter Criss, which is probably a wise move. So when the band started shopping their demo credited as Peter Criss around, the response was universally negative. One cassette demo circulated simply featured Loves for Sale, Long Time, and All Night Long. They had also covered Lee Michaels' 1971 hit Do You Know What I Mean, and had original material such as Between the Lines. By early 1991, the difficulties shopping the demo and St. John's need to get on with making a living led to friction between him and Criss, and he left the band, which eventually became Criss. In later years in his life, Mark St. John did not make many public appearances. In 2023, Kiss announced that they would release the only full live show recorded. Oh, they did do a gig with him. Ah, there you go. I might actually listen to that. I mean, if this is true.
Well, there you go.
It is Wikipedia. In 2023, Kiss announced they would release the only known full live show featuring St. John as part of their Off the Soundboard series of live albums. The show was recorded on November 28th, 1984 at Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, New York. Now, this is when things get a bit bleak. Beginning on September 14, 2006, St. John was incarcerated for several days at the Theo Lacey Jail in Orange County, California, after being charged with possession of unspecified drug paraphernalia, attempted destruction of evidence, and resisting arrest. He was initially housed at the Facility D Barracks, a medium security dormitory for non-violent offenders. He was later moved to F West Barracks after telling guards he had stolen crackers from another inmate's property box and was in fear for his safety. A guard allegedly conspired with a group of inmates to have St. John assaulted for the transgression, and subsequently St. John was brutally beaten and stabbed with pencils by a group of up to 20 inmates. The guard was later placed on paid leave pending an investigation into this and other violent incidences inside the jail. In an interview with OC Weekly, a fellow inmate described the St. John encounter as, he got caught stealing something. I guess he did that somewhere else in jail, but we found out about it somehow. And the Kiss guy got beat up pretty bad. That is a citation next to it, right? Which means, you know, it is sourced. His girlfriend who said he was unrecognizable after the vicious beating, believed the incident was directly responsible for his untimely death several months later. A couple of days before the beating, St. John told her that he had snitched on a drug dealer several years earlier, and he believed he was certain to be attacked if this became known by other inmates. For the next several months after leaving Theo Lacey jail, St. John suffered several headaches and body aches, and many times told his girlfriend that the chronic ailments were absolutely the result of the beating at Theo Lacey. While it is not known that medical attention he received... While it is not known what medical attention he received inside the jail, after his release, he refused to see a doctor due to having no medical insurance. Fucking hell. And thus his health deteriorated. St. John died on April 5th, 2007, due to what the coroner described as a brain hemorrhage brought on by an accidental overdose of methamphetamine. Friends claimed that St. John was never the same after the beating and would not discuss his brief time at Theo Lacey jail. Another friend stated that St. John fell deep into depression and drug addiction after being released, selling all his stage outfits and mowing lawns and doing roofing to afford a drug habit that spiraled out of control. Fuck. Jesus Christ. I mean, talk about a fall from grace. Jesus Christ. That, I don't know if you guys agree or know, read much about sort of like, people sort of, musicians like downward spiral into drugs or crime or whatever. But that is, I think, one of the most tragic, depressing examples of it like I have ever heard. Because a lot of them, let's say the band reunites, they bounce back and stuff like that. That to me
is
is
a bit more like a rock and roll sort of edge to it or something.
Yeah, that is just so sad to me, and also really, 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 really real. The fact that he was in Kiss made no difference to that. That could just be like, I find that. I mean, I find it tremendously sad and probably like the
avalanche.
So quickly, I have never heard of someone's career nosedive as bad as that. In my opinion, that's that's just me. Anyway,
just as a person, just as a person, like even not even talking about his career.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's just a really fucking sad story.
It's insanely sad,
and it's not easy to read. Yeah.
No.
Anyway.
Asylum.
Let's talk about the cover. No, sorry. Anyway, back to the band. With Mark gone, Bruce Kulick is brought on board. Now, would you like to know what Paul has to say about Bruce? Do you want to guess?
I can't predict it. I don't know enough about Bruce.
He was a wet blanket, but a great guitarist overall.
He was an ugly little weirdo with a bad breath, and I hate him.
It wasn't that.
He came in and he started playing this fast guitar, and I said, "What are you doing?
What are you doing?"
Very fragile, man. No, he didn't say that.
No.
He didn't say that. No, he didn't.
He didn't go.
And Bruce said, "What's the matter?" And Paul went, "You're playing your guitar too fast. You've upset him again. Go away."
He didn't say that.
No, he didn't. He said that Bruce was a real mensch, which apparently is a Yiddish term, which means just like a great guy. If you're a mensch,
Okay.
which is very unlike Paul.
Okay, I'm glad.
He said he was a real mensch. He was very funny and a great team player. That's a very Paul compliment. Do you not think? A great team player.
Team player.
Yeah.
He did
Look,
his.
I'll
he
take
pulled
Paul
his
saying
weight.
something nice about someone.
Yeah, no, he does. But it's also, it is worth mentioning, Bruce doesn't get a look in the book. This is basically it. Because he had nothing but positive things to say about it. Why waste word count?
Oh, so that's
Why
it.
waste ink on saying something nice about someone when you could be petty and weird for fucking 10 chapters?
Wait, how long is Bruce with the band?
Fucking ages. He spends more time talking about how much he hates Mark and Vinny than he does talking about how a great guy Bruce is. As far as I'm aware, Paul said that if you asked Bruce how he was doing, he would give you a 30-minute dissertation about his upset stomach. In details better left to the imagination. I mean, that doesn't sound like a great guy, does it? To be honest. I think
Wait,
just shut.
that's the part. Is that part of the compliment?
Yeah, that's part of the compliment. It doesn't sound like a compliment, really. It sounds like, it sounds like a guy that, not great social skills, to be honest. It sounds like something Paul wouldn't like either. He'd be like,
I'm eating.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'd be like,
I feel like I was in the middle of eating a delicious soup in Scandinavia when he started talking about his insides.
Gene. Oh, actually, I do have a quote from Gene. Actually, Gene was a bit more unkind to Bruce. He said that Bruce lacked a personal style, but was willing to learn Ace's solos note for note, which is sort of, not a great compliment. But Paul liked him. Paul likes him very much. Paul said it was strange being on their fourth guitar player. He didn't like the idea of Kiss becoming a backup band for Gene and himself, and that he often frowned on bands with many lineup changes. Well, maybe Paul, you can sympathize with them a little bit now and understand how they got in that predicament. Show a bit of humility, maybe, instead of going, I often frowned on bands with many lineup changes. You have like fucking 11 guitar players. What are you on about? He doesn't try to turn it around and be like, oh, but I understand that now. Things happen. It makes sense. He's like,
I often frowned on bands like that.
But anyway, according to Paul, even though the band was making a lot of money, the label did not care. To quote Paul, he said,
I think the label was dominated by young men straight out of college looking out for bands like Dan Reed Network, and no wonder, why wouldn't you? 30 years later, they're still a household name, right?
I mean, I don't know who Dan Reed Network is. I've not listened to them. Do you have an? But I can't comment on the Dan Reed Network. Despite this, they had to set their focus on a follow-up to Animalize, which was Asylum. Fucking, it's taken me 40 minutes to get to the album. To actually get to the recording of the album. As per every album, there are many issues showing up. Gene was exhausted. Paul said that he would be up all night producing some band that he thought were going to be great. He would often come in with songs that were half finished and demand that they be on the album. Gene also was adamant that he had to have a certain amount of songs on the album. He had to have his quota. He had to have his share of songs on the album. However, Paul did not think that Gene was delivering the goods. I mean, he's never... I mean, he said this with Animalize. He's never delivered the goods. It doesn't matter. He's never delivered. He did not deliver the goods on Rock and Roll Over either. He did not deliver the goods on Love Gun. I don't think it makes a difference now. To be honest with you, if you were not going to give him space on the album, you should have done that fucking 20 years ago. Not now. Okay? If you're going to you might as well give him the same fucking 6 songs you've given him on every album, because it's just going to be the same. Anyway. after this, in Paul's autobiography, he goes on this rant that just goes on and on about Gene, and I just couldn't paraphrase it, and I couldn't condense it down, but it just goes on and on and on. But basically, in a nutshell, Paul said he did everything, Gene did absolutely nothing, and you know, everyone's a twat, and he's to thank for the album being a success and for them being a success in the 80s. At this point, you know, with the album coming out, times are changing. There is an image change. Everything is very, very colourful, a lot more colourful than before. A lot of the black leather
that's right.
has basically gone, including Gene. And Gene was, I guess you'd argue maybe the more macho of the band. But again, he's very, 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 very colourful. I mean, if you've seen the video to Tears Are Falling or any of the 3 videos that came out, everything is a lot bigger, isn't it? It's a lot bigger. It's a lot brighter. I mean, even for this style of music, it's very, 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 very big. Even for this, it's incredibly big. Like, if you A-B it with like a Motley Crue, even then, it's very large. It's very, very flamboyant. What do you guys think? Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, you know, with the previous music videos they were ridiculous, and their costumes were so bright and colourful. But at least they always like put themselves in the setting of like being on the street or being like a dark alleyway and stuff. However, with these music videos that we get for this album, it is like big open set. Like, they play a lot more with colour and just out there concepts, which some of them are really bizarre. I can't work out. I don't know if you want to talk about each individual music video.
There's too many. The only thing that really, really perplexes me is, you know, in the video for Who Wants to Be Lonely, are they in like a spa?
Yeah, that's what I wrote down. I wrote, spa?
What's going on with that?
Because
it looks like a spa, doesn't it?
There's women, showering near them. But it doesn't look like a conventional spa. It looks like kind of like a hydro plant sort of place as well.
Yeah, I forgot about that. There's like this industrial bit to it. Like, doesn't make any sense.
What the fuck is this?
Oh, have you never seen it? Have you never watched it?
No, I'm looking it up now.
Oh, it's so big, isn't it? I think it's enormous, right?
Yeah, and the camera cuts are so frantic. It's
in a large bathroom.
It's enormous, isn't it? It would have been great if they did it with the makeup, because the steam would have caused it to
Yes.
oh, come on.
My makeup!
No, I'm just saying, with the old videos, like, it was ridiculous, but they would kind of put on this kind of like tough guy persona, which I think failed in most cases, but you can see there was an attempt there. I think that's all gone with these videos. This wasn't the set that confused me the most, though. There was one where they're in like a jungle space, but there's TVs everywhere.
That's Tears Are Falling. That's Tears Are Falling.
Tears Are Falling. Yeah.
I think
don't get it.
I
don't know.
I think if I'm. Do you not even think, like, I mean, maybe I'm just wrong. Even for the 80s, this is just it's way too big, right? Even for the 80s.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean,
sorry. I
think Alex had it right. At least before they were trying something and failing. Here it just seems like they're just throwing stuff out. Like, oh, I don't know, let's dress up. Let's act more camp, maybe. Like, they're just what's the concept? What's the idea? What's even the style? Yeah, I don't even know what the style is.
Yeah, I think the pitch would have been mental, wouldn't it? Like, how did they pitch this? So they're like, oh yeah, you'll be in like a nuclear waste plant and then in like a bathhouse.
But also, I do just think, like, oh well, they're just doing what other people were doing. I think that other bands were doing this sort of meaningless stuff at the time.
I think I read somewhere that like Van Halen recorded a few videos in like this studio that this bathhouse is in or whatever, and then it seemed like Paul just wanted to get in on that, just go to the same place and get the same people.
They do have this weird band envy thing, don't they? I think they sort of kind of latch onto these bands. They did it with Led Zeppelin. I think is the big one.
I was just gonna say the kick drum.
Yeah,
debacle.
I think, as far as I'm aware, though, the really embarrassing video. I mean, they're all embarrassing, but the one that's really bad is the one for All Night. Oh God, it is. Sorry, I just started watching it. Have any of you guys watched this?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
With
Sorry,
the
I've not seen it
nurses or
in
whatever,
years.
right?
That was just from memory. No, it's the opening shot, Alex, where it's like black and Paul Stanley like reveals himself. He's like in an over. Oh my God! Fucking hell!
Just watched it.
He's in it. Jesus Christ! That is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm gonna watch it in slow
He's like
motion.
dressed up as a fucking SS officer, and then
It's
suddenly
me.
reveals himself.
That's an SS officer.
SS officer.
I'm gonna get you out of here.
Oh, it's terrible. That's what it's like.
He's saving someone.
No, he's just as a sailor. I mean, they're all kind.
Oh no, I've seen the rest of the video now. I can see, but in the lighting of the opening shot.
What is that? Oh my God, what is that? Have you seen the bit where there's a bit where Gene is like looking through a giant keyhole?
Through a keyhole,
He's like,
yes.
there's a bit, and they're looking at these like two women. They're sort of dressed like Marilyn Monroe on these heart-shaped beds, and they're sort of silently getting undressed. And then they kind of like occasionally they'll all peer through some blinds. It's like, look at them. Of all of them, Eric's is the funniest. I feel a bit bad for Bruce because I feel like
I'll say it. I think this is the best one of the lot of the music videos. Like
Why?
this one's like is stupid, but at least like I don't know. It sort of fits together in this weird way, and it fits the song. But like just what we were talking about with whatever the last video we were talking about, and then Tears Are
Who Wants to Be
Falling.
Lonely?
For me, they don't match whatsoever. But like this one, thematically it seems to work. Obviously the intro is batshit crazy, but the rest it all fits. They're just playing in front of some big speakers.
I guess there's like a theme. It's the whole theme that they're all kind of like peeping toms looking through this like this keyhole or some blinds at some as well. By the way, a very tame scene. Do you know what I mean? Like they're kind of looking at it, kind of winking and like raising up. I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, and it's a very, very sort of tame thing that's going on.
Yeah.
You know what it should have been? It should have been like the most hardcore porn you've ever seen in your entire life. Like dildos,
That'd be funny.
50 feet long, going into like going into arm, like going into arse, like dildos attached to power drills, going inside someone's bumhole whilst they're all like, looking through the keyholes, going ooh.
Nah, Alexei, if we asked Gene about it, he would have said that would have been the original pitch. Like we went to the producers and this is what we offered, and they said you can't do that.
Oh yeah.
It would be funnier if it was Paul in the room. They're all looking through the room, and it's Paul going ooh, just writhing around on the,
just
on
in
the
sailor's
bed
outfit.
in lingerie. Ooh. I feel a bit bad for Bruce. He looks very. He's a bit of a. I think from what I gather and what I've seen of him, he's a bit of a. He seems like a nice man. He just seems he's not very rock starry, is he? He seems very stiff. Do you know what I mean? In
At least
every
Eric
video,
has a sort of like cheeky smile about him, sort of thing. So we're saying the music videos are mixed. They've changed their image quite a bit, but I suppose this is just we're in 1985 now, so like this is probably just what everyone else is doing.
I don't know if it is. I mean, it is. I mean, Poison and stuff like that were doing something similar. Motley Crue were as well. This is very big though, even by that standard. It's definitely more peacock than leather. It's interesting you said Van Halen because they actually used Van Halen's stylist for this. Even Van Halen weren't this.
That's what I'm saying. Like
big,
they used a lot of the same crew on purpose.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. They. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm so lost now in these videos. But Eric's had 3 bass drums in every single video so far. I think this might be the most impressive. I think this might be like the most in the history of music, the worst like triplet of videos off one album I've ever seen in my life. I think you'd be hard pushed to be like, this band released an album, there are 3 singles off them. Actually, technically, even or Night and Who Wants to Be Lonely, they weren't put out as singles. I have no idea why videos were made for them because they weren't actually singles. A band, they put out three videos and they're all as bad as these. I would be that would very much surprise me. I think this kind of wins it for like the worst trilogy of music videos ever made. It's not the worst video they've ever done though. They do a song called "Let's Put the X in Sex," which actually doesn't appear on an album, so I don't think we'll cover it. That is worse than this. Like easily worse than these.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, it's bad. It's very, very bad. Now, there's not really much about the album. I just put. There's not much about the album to talk about. We're like an hour in, but in terms of like the actual album,
Yeah.
there isn't a lot. There isn't really a lot about the recording or anything like that. So I'd sort of gone, all right, got quite a lot. I'll put this to bed. But then I was listening to Paul's audiobook, and he started going on a bit of a tangent, and I felt, this is music history after all. It's probably worth bringing up a couple of quotes. Is that all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please.
Yeah. He said, as far as his sexual exploits in the 70s were concerned, he said
He'd been paddling round the pool. By the 80s, I was doing backflips in it.
doesn't that just conjure up such horrible imagery in your head? But it's just the idea that he's doing like
paddling by the pool.
It's more him doing backflips, Alex. It's more him. It's just the idea of him backflipping naked off a dialing board, like jizzing everywhere, going. I just don't like it. I don't like it at all. He also, and this is when this is where things get kind of interesting. He also decided to attend his 15th year high school reunion. Now I'm going to quote him as best I can, because I can't really sum it up. To be honest, so I'm just going to quote it as I can, and then I'll leave it up to comment if you feel like you want to comment. If not, we'll just kind of move on to the album cover. He said,
More than seeing how everyone's lives had turned out, I knew I wanted to rub my success in their faces. The woman...
Such a fuck.
already after one sentence. It gets worse.
The woman I was seeing at the time was, surprise, a Playboy centerfold. I thought about bringing her to the reunion. But then I thought, what about the date I had back then with the coolest girl in school, Victoria? The date where I ended up talking to Victoria's dad until she went off to bed. The date that resulted in the hottest girl in school sniggering at me for the rest of high school. I decided to go by myself.
I have no idea what happened on this date. I haven't got a clue what happened on this date, which led her to snigger at him, and I kind of don't want to know. I want to keep it a mystery in my head. Does that make sense? I want to kind of keep it a mystery.
What?
I decided to go by myself. I didn't tell my Playboy bunny because I sort of hoped I could bang my failed conquest. I couldn't wait to see all these people who had considered me the least likely to accomplish anything. When I walked in, all I could think was, everyone was too big for the furniture. The atmosphere was somber, and most of the people there did not age well at all. Everyone looked old and broken. 15 years later, Victoria had short, mousy hair and was wearing clunky orthopedic-style shoes and a frumpy skirt. She was not so hot anymore. At first, I felt a brief jolt of vindication after seeing her like that, thinking of the way she had never let me live down that folly of a date we once had.
What?
But then, I wished she could look as good as she did back then, 15 years ago. This was just depressing. I'd found no joy in rubbing my success in people's faces.
Anyway.
Well, I'm glad, Paul, that you came round there. So what a happy ending. Who'd have fucking thought, Paul? Who'd have fucking thought?
It's not a good look, is it? You know, I mean, didn't even Gene surely would have been like, Paul, I don't think this is healthy.
Yeah.
Even Gene was like, Paul, I don't think this is the right thing for you to do. Anyway, anything you'd like to comment? If not, we can move on.
It speaks for itself.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy.
It sounds quite damaged, but again, it's getting more dark now, right? It's just so like that matters to him so much.
I don't really know what happened to him at high school. Obviously, there was a date and it went horribly wrong, but I'm not quite sure. I would love to know, but I kind of want to keep it a mystery.
Okay, then.
I don't
But
know.
for him to have lived the life he had up until that point, and in that one date, still really stuck with him. I mean, that's...
Well, he said
Yeah,
that he was
something,
just he said he was just chatting to her dad all night. Maybe he saw her and she was that fit that he just started jizzing uncontrollably in his and got it all over his dad's over her dad's furniture, and then he just sat there reprimanding him for like 4 hours, and she went to bed. I think that's what happened. If I know that's what I'm going to choose to believe that's what happened. Anyway, the album charted fine, and I think in general people, the fans don't really seem to dig this one so much because it's I think because of the image change basically. But let's talk about the cover. Danny, what do you think of this of the artwork? I think Paul designed this one. I could be wrong, but I think he designed it.
It's not my thing. They all look... This is not a good look. This is not any of them at their best. I'm trying to think of how to say that. This is not any of them looking at their best. None of them are complemented by this... Like, I guess it's a sort of pop art thing, isn't it? But it doesn't... I'm sort of lacking the words. I don't like the colours. I don't like the style. They're pulling their signature funny faces. What is Paul's expression there? What's the expression? I don't have much to say.
What are you doing?
That's what his expression is.
That's what comes before the "what are you doing?" It's like,
That's when it
you know
clocks.
something's up.
That's when it clocks. Yeah. That someone's trying on his shoes without permission. That kind of thing. That's the kind of thing he would be annoyed about.
I came in and he was wearing my shoes. What are you doing?
That's him. Going,
What?
Every time.
What?
I bet his bandmates dreaded that look. Do you know what it's like, when someone like says your name a certain way or something like that, and you're in trouble or something. You know what I mean? Like there's a kind of you kind of become conditioned to hate the sight of something. Be like Bruce would be there just tuning his guitar nonchalantly, and he'd turn, and then there it was.
Then Paul would be there.
That face.
What are you doing?
And he looks.
Where is my distortion pedal, Bruce?
He turns down, and it turns out he's accidentally picked up Paul's BC Rich and not his Explorer.
Yeah.
Not his Explorer. It's like okay, Paul, I'll put it down.
It's just an accident, Paul.
Your fingerprints are all over it. If you A real guitar players make guitars their own. They do not grab the guitar of a superior player.
It's like, yes, I know, Paul. You don't have to give me these words of wisdom all the time. Anyway, sorry.
No, I'm done. Alexei, what do you think of this front cover?
I think this is one of their. I genuinely think this is one of their worst covers. I really don't like this one. I think that. I think the power dynamic is on display as usual. Paul and Gina at the top, as usual. It doesn't look like an 80s cover. I think it looks more like a 70s cover. I think it looks like a 70s glam cover with the sort of the pop art vibe. I think it's funny that Eric is almost like cropped out at the
I was thinking that.
at the bottom right. Which is bad because Gene's got headspace to spare. They could have just given him a little bit more room or made the head smaller.
They have this problem a lot.
Yeah,
They're cropping people out.
they
giving some people too much space.
Yeah, I know. It's not very right. It's not very symmetrical either. Like there's a huge cluster of these sort of droplets, these paint droplets by Eric's head, but it's not mirrored on the other side. It's not mirrored beside Bruce. It's not very it's just not very aesthetically pleasing in that regard. And the same goes for Gene. He's got these little driplets by his head at the top, and again, isn't mirrored at the bottom. I also think, Danny, you said that like the which I thought was interesting was like none of them benefit from that look, and I think it's because of the sort of grey pink color they've gone for with the skin. It makes them all look incredibly flat.
Yeah, the overlay.
Really, really flat and horrible. Like there's not really much shading. There's not much perspective. What shading is there looks almost like it's been stamped on, quite clumsily. It's very, very, very flat. In many ways, I do think this is probably one of their worst covers because it's just really ugly. The colors are really saturated and flat. They don't really work together. The contrast of colors doesn't really work. There's no identity at all. I mean, Hotter Than Hell was incredibly rubbish, but it at least had the 4 characters on, and I think aesthetically that's such a strong look that it would lift it above this, despite the absolute fucking mess that cover was. Yeah, I think this is a bad cover. I think it's comfortably their worst. It's just really ugly. It's very, very, very ugly. It's very, very garish. Which is weird. It's very garish and bright, but the skin tone they give them, it's kind of pink and grey. It's very drab. If you're gonna go for pink, at least go for a flamboyant pink. It's not very nice. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, you guys have already said it. It usually, at least there's something you can point to where it's like, oh, here are the different personalities or characteristics or something you can grab onto for each member. But this one, it's definitely the one where it makes them all look as similar as possible, except from they're trying to do something with the different color lips, which I don't know if there's any kind of representation there. But
yes, there is, Alex. There is, Alex. Look at the colors. Look at the colors of the lips. You look at the colors and think about it.
Is this what stage costumes or something? Or?
Well, it's the colors from the solo albums, isn't it? Paul's purple, Gene red.
Oh,
Eric, not Pete, is green, and Ace is blue.
Well,
not Ace. Sorry, fine. Bruce is blue.
Sure. But if you pull this out at a record store,
nothing. You'd get nothing.
You just put it back. It doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Shall we move on track by track? I have the least to say.
Let's do it.
About the music. I think I have the least to say about the album.
Really?
Yeah. I don't really have much to say about this. I'll explain in a bit. Alex, why don't you start us off with the first track, "King of the Mountain"? This is a Paul song.
Yeah, a Paul song. This is big. We get this just like we got from Animalize. We're getting these big intros, and here we get this cool little drum section leading us in, and we get this huge ass song, "King of the Mountain." every time I would listen to this, I would just think about how you just couldn't write a song like this now. Like this sort of
absolutely not.
huge, just I'm the king of the mountain sort of song. This was the 80s bubble that was going to burst so dramatically, in like 8 years or whenever
Yes.
Nirvana came along. And it's just so interesting to hear all this again, and just the confidence that these rock stars had. But I don't really mean that as a negative. I think
it's for what it is, isn't it?
But yeah, I think it's a really stupid but pretty fun song. It's a good introduction to Bruce on the guitar. I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about the guitar work on this album, but it's a good showcase for him. I think the solo is awesome. Particularly, there's sort of like a second solo after Paul gives us a "Let's go,"
Yes.
and it rocks. I was honestly surprised how much it kicks ass.
Yeah, I think you've made an excellent point, particularly with Bruce as well. Actually, I think, and I've always thought this, I think he is their best guitar player, at least in my view. I think he's their best guitar player. And I think this is one of his sort of stand-up moments, particularly that bit that you're talking about is fucking amazing.
Yeah, like things on like there's certain moments on this album where things really clicked, and that's one of the key ones where things just came together, which like it felt as though they very rarely did on previous albums. So yeah, this is a dumb song, but I really enjoyed it actually. And just all of the King's horses, all the King's men were getting crazy again and again. Like, it's just so stupid, but I'm into it. And they sound tight. This is the sort of stuff that ages ago when we talked about Paul's solo album, that I was thinking, just Paul, go off and just do a solo project by yourself. Just forget about him. And the songs like this were kind of what I had in mind. That only he can do. Go on,
So you made an excellent point before about how, I can't remember exactly how you worded it, but you was kind of saying, like, I guess the gist of what you're saying is that the song certainly lives up to its name, whether it's good or bad. Like in the way that like God of Thunder does not live up to its name at all. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's sort of farts along that song, but this, whether it's good or bad, it's massive. Like it certainly is. Like, you hear the King of the Mountain. It certainly like fits his name. Just like the energy of it and the size of it. It's just fucking gargantuan, big and dumb.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Yeah, Paul can reach that level, which is great. Alexei, do you want to keep going on it? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think the drums sound fucking sweet. I think they're very punchy. And they do reel off the kind of roominess of it when it kicks in, when the intro kicks in, which I think is good. It doesn't make it too muddy. The drum fills are sweet. A lot of awesome like double kicks that, for the time, are very, very current and also very, very, very flashy. In general, I actually think this might be Eric's best album yet. I feel like there's quite a lot of songs in this. I was like, oh god, that sounds sweet. That is really good on Eric. Even if the song isn't great, I think he does some really, really nice stuff on this. I think this or Creatures, but I think he was doing a different thing on Creatures. He was doing more of like a John Bonham thing on Creatures. But this is a decent track. I think that the playing from everyone is on point. I think that I do feel that from Lick It Up to this, all their albums have had a format, pretty much. I don't know if you guys have noticed this as well. There's quite a clear format, and that includes a decent or good opener, exciter,
high energy,
fucking
opener,
whatever that one's called. The one's like,
I've had enough of the war, into the fire.
that one. It's got a really dumb title. That one, and this. I do think that you know, and this fits into that very, very nicely. I don't necessarily think it's as good as Exciter. I think that Exciter maybe has more swagger. That's kind of maybe why I prefer that. But the playing on this is really, really good. I think the playing on this is great. I think the double kick groove that's in the verses, the sort of triplet thing that's like ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da, with the bass linking up with it. It's something that you wouldn't necessarily expect from an 80s metal band, and I like that. Also, the middle eight, the kind of like jazzy staccato shreddy bit, that bit is more progressive than anything that is off Music for the Elder. Like, it sounds like something that would be on a Dream Theater song. There's also a great sort of funky bit where it's like that bit again, not necessarily what you'd expect. I think they're showing off more kind of creativity and a bit more of their musicianship, which is nice. It's nice, you know, to hear. The hook is very, very big, very operatic. It's not necessarily catchy, but it's intense, and I think that's the goal, really. And I think the goal is to be catchy. Whereas I think that, you know, I guess that Exciter and I had enough in Falling Into the Fire, whatever that's called. That they didn't have that catchiness either, but they weren't necessarily as intense. I do prefer Excite, but maybe it's a different thing. The solos are off the chain. I think Paul crushes it as always. I think the bridge into the chorus is a bit weak. However, I don't necessarily mind a sort of subpar bridge, because at the end of the day, you maybe want to bring things back a little bit and then hit them with a chorus. Do you know what I mean? So I don't really mind that so much. I've come to expect good openers from them now, which maybe tempers my enthusiasm a little bit. You know, and despite all my praise, this is not one of my favourites, really, from them. But I do respect it, and I think it's good, and I think it hits pretty hard. But I do think this highlights a criticism for the whole of the album, which at this stage, this run of albums, you think about them having these run of albums, like the first three, or particularly, you know, Love Gun through to, Rock and Roll Over through to Love Gun, they fall into these formulas and these sounds, and this is part of that. This is like the end of this kind of run of albums that has that formula and that sound, which I think would depreciate it ultimately. Danny, what do you think?
It's interesting, Alexei. A few things you said, both of you have said. Alexei, you used the phrase big and dumb, and that they pull it off. I put that, especially the drum intro, I put quite funny, quite good drum intro.
Yeah.
It's like, and then nothing, and then then it comes in. But I do really like it when it kicks in. They are still nailing intros, as you've both said. I think instantly because my first listen I did on headphones, and just like the last album, it's not a good album for headphones.
I agree.
Straight away, not like
I agree.
There's one my headphones, but it sounded very tinny.
There's one song in particular
to me
that I'll keep, but there's one song I think we might be agreed that there's one song in particular I think particularly sounds very, very weak on headphones. But carry on.
I mean, in general, yeah. I mean, really, with this album, it made me think about. I feel the difference between the word production and mix, because actually, what I mean when I say production, I'm more talking about like the timbre of the sound, like the instruments and the sounds that they're making, the tones of the instruments. Yeah. With that, it's that I can kind of just sort of enjoy as a piece of its time, while the mix is just bad. Because I've got less patience as a modern listener for a mix that I can't get on with as I can a kind of retro production. So I was struggling with the mix. I put great drums, like you both said. I wrote looking forward to hearing about the kick drum drama from Paul, but you didn't say anything about that, Alexei. So I'm glad.
Also,
everything. I hope they've.
Well, I was going to say, I'd fucking like to hear John Bonham play. I'd like to hear anyone play that on one fucking bass drum, you absolute fucking lunatic, Paul.
That's what I mean.
Like, are you mad? Anyway.
I put, are the lyrics to be taken literally? Like he's actually on a mountain and he's claimed it as his own. I didn't really like the. You raised good points, Alexei, about them showing their skill with these sort of middle eighth
Their
bits
chops.
surrounding the solo, but I just musically wasn't into them. I get your point, but they didn't work for me. But the solo, oh my god, was amazing. Like you both said, instantly I put he's already my favorite Kiss guitarist.
Oh, he's great. He's really good.
Purposeful, clean, beautiful shred. I do have to say with Bruce, I've got a little bit of a positive bias because he plays one of my favorite solos of all time, which is "Snows in Hell" by Lordi. He plays the guitar solo.
He does. Yeah, he does. He does play the guitar solo.
Man, and for years, since I was a teenager, that's been one of my all-time favorite guitar solos. So he's kind of already in my good books, Bruce, because I love that solo, and he's killing it on this track. I like the breakdown of the last chorus. This relates to what you were saying, Alexei. I think we really agree. I put, I can fuck with this, but I have dread about the rest of the album.
Yeah.
And I think I was feeling this formula you were talking about, Alexei. I feel like I know what's going to happen.
Well, we know what's going to happen with the next track. This is what I mean.
Well, let's move on. Let's go.
So
let's move on. I'm done.
Any way you slice it, I mean, Gene sounds annoying as usual. You know, his tracks from Lick It Up and Animalize and this, they just all have the same vibe. You know, I think the bridge is all right. It sounds like budget Motley Crue, like very, very budget, particularly the kind of shouty backing vocals, you know. The chorus is just so annoying. Like, he's just so uncharismatic that he cannot carry a tune like this. And he couldn't carry anything off Lick It Up, and he can't carry anything off Animal. Like, he's that uncharismatic and wooden, it just comes off as force. Like, I've also noticed they put some, like, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, I can't remember, but they put some, like, effect on his voice. It sounds like really subtle slapback reverb, and I don't know why. It just kind of clouds his performance, and it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good at all. It's just really, really, really annoying. It's you know, it sounds like shitty Kenny Loggins. It sounds like something that would be in like the background. Like, it sounds like the soundtrack to like playing volleyball on a beach or something like that. It's not good. I think the bit that's in Free, like the crescendo, where he's like, anymore. But it goes, it's that crescendo bit. It's so dumb that I actually think I like it a little bit, but I understand it is not good music. I was kind of more like, what the fuck was that? I was kind of more like bewildered by it.
Yeah.
Again, though, Bruce and Eric are very good, very, very tight. The solo absolutely slaps. It's not good. It's pretty boring. It's very stock Gene. That's all I have to say. I'd be very surprised if you guys have anything more to say about it. Danny, what are you saying?
The first thing I wrote was "fuck off, Gene."
In it, yeah. I'm so tired.
Yeah. I'm not into his vocals today. I know especially me and Alex have been trying to say nicer things about his vocals recently, but this wasn't it. Full on squeaking voice cracks. I don't care if it's intentional, it's shit. What is this shit? This sounds like he's just about made it into the early 70s. And that in combination with the dated 80s mix on it, it's really not sounding great. Slightly better pre-solo riff, but still pointless. The solo, I mean, was, I'm afraid, made quite nothingy by the rhythm section in a sort of you're only as strong as your weakest part sort of way. Although, of course, the playing's great, but it's just it can't lift the song. There's like a weird electric tom sound in the breakdown that made me laugh.
Yeah.
I know that. Yeah, that's very 80s, that bit.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
incredibly
Like a
80s.
sample or something. Very strange. I put, this is rubbish, and the last thing I wrote was, oh, fuck off, you creepy rapist, about the endings. The ending's just so...
It's rapey as fuck.
I did not like that. Yeah.
You know what?
Alex, what do you think?
So I was just going to say, you know what?
Oh,
When you're
go
talking
on,
about that
what's
weird
that?
Tom bit, that weird 80s Tom bit, do you think that's him saying, like,
You know what this bit needs? A bit of electronic drumming.
Do you know what I mean?
That's true. Who said that?
UK.
Who is
it's
that?
not him,
It's
is it?
crazy.
Surely
Is
it's
it
not.
Eric?
I've been listening to Tangerine Dream. You mean we get a bit of that in here?
It's very odd, isn't it?
You guys have already we've already hinted at the formula they have just settled into, where they have like a fast-paced opener, and then which is always a pull track, and then the second track is always Gene's. What I'm gathering, Gene thinks is his best foot forward. I always get the feeling that's
Probably.
the way they do it, and like with this one, he just reverted back to just his comfort zone, or how he wrote songs in like the first 6 albums, or however many, whatever. His initial sound. I mean, it's just so simple. You know exactly how the track's gonna go after the first like 30 seconds. Lyrically, I mean, like I say, just sort of creepy Gene shit. The line that I wrote from this one is, "Let me be your king bee. I want your hornet's nest." Which is,
What
again,
the
just,
fuck
like,
does that
so
mean?
What the fuck, man?
What are you gonna do with it? What are you gonna do with that hornet's
Yeah.
nest? If I had a hornet's nest in my garden and he came in and went, "I want your hornet's nest," I'd be like, "Well, fucking take it. Do what you want with it."
And then it fuck you.
then he'd fuck it. He put his penis in it, and I'd be like, "Can you stop that, please?"
No.
The one positive I wrote is that like they are a much tighter band now. So like at least now like there's little short breaks and bursts, which they couldn't do 10 years
Yes.
ago. And the ending that you were talking about, Alexei, I'm amazed it's taken them this long to do an outro like this, because it just seems like such a thing that like Peter Criss would have been into.
What?
Or
No,
that
no, no.
they would have been all
Black,
over
Black
in their earlier
Diamonds.
albums.
Black Diamond, right?
Yeah, but this is a bit more like I don't know.
I mean,
like
well, this is a bit. This is a bit.
old,
Well, this
like,
is
rock and
major,
roll
isn't it?
sort of style.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I'd say the outro to Black Diamond sounded more current, or more forward thinking than the outro to this does.
That was
Yeah,
a
I
bit
agree
more
with
like
that.
sort of metal, but this one's a bit more bluesy. I don't know, but I when I heard it, I just thought like, yeah, this seems like something they would have been totally into back. So I'm amazed you're hearing it now. That's it. Who wants to be lonely?
Yeah, who wants to be lonely? Guys, I would like to ask you a question. What do you guys think? What if you had to assume? What do you think I think of this song? Just out of curiosity, what's your? If you had to hazard a guess.
I think the answer has to be whether it's true or not. The answer is I think you like it.
It's a banger.
I think you've been singing this in your kitchen a lot.
Yes.
It's saying this in my what? Singing it to my what? Sorry.
You've just singing it in the kitchen to yourself a lot.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is a banger. I think this is great. I think this should have been the single. I don't know. Tears Are Falling is obviously the single. This should have been the single. This is his. Like, we're talking about the formula that's been on the past 3 albums. This is the Tonight It Ends Here track. You know, this is the A Million to the One. This is the Thrills in the Night. You know, this is the Magic Touch. This is Tonight You Belong to Me. Do you know what I mean? And it's fucking wicked. It's got really, really cool groove. It's got really like driving nice groove. I like that it switches from the snare to the floor-tom in the chorus. Gives it a very kind of anthemic vibe, which absolutely slaps. I think that it just rides so well, and he writes songs like this so well. He writes, you know, the sort of urgent melodramatic songs, you know, that talks about the million to ones and the Tonight You Belong to Me. You know, he writes this in this style so well, and he's just so good at singing. He's so expressive and raspy and theatrical and camp and, you know, and urgent. He's just so fucking good. He's such an arsehole, but he's so fucking good at singing. Like, you know, and this is all in the hook. This has a great hook. It's a really, really good hook. I think it's one of. I generally think it's one of his best hooks. It's so urgent and dramatic. He's picked up the opposite thing from Desmond Child. I don't know if that makes it better or worse. You know what I mean? It's like the heavens on fire. Dude looks like a lady. You give love a bad name. It's that, who wants to be lonely? That whole thing. He's picked that up from Desmond Child. Whether that makes it bad or good, I haven't got a fucking clue. That's just something that I noticed. I love how the bass follows the vocal melody in the little tail, the tail on the end of the chorus where it goes, whoa, whoa. It's very, very well thought out. It's very, very considerate. And, it emphasizes that part very, very well, which is insanely catchy. And that's what you want. That's what you want emphasized. What's amazing about it, I don't know if you felt this, it's touch and go at the beginning though, when it's just the chugging, when it's just the kind of this could go either way.
Yeah,
this could go major and Gene starts singing and then it's awful, or we could go a little bit minor and Paul comes in and then that's it, we're good, we're safe. The solo is a kind of a bit of a weird choice. It's not necessarily what I think necessarily they should have put there. That kind of frenetic, slightly sort of dissonant notes. If it is dissonant, I don't really know. Daddy, you'd probably know better than me. But I don't think it hurts the song too much. I would have picked something a bit more shreddy and soulful, in my opinion. Paul goes absolutely mental at the end, which is great, and always fucking welcome. He sounds fucking unbelievable. He sounds mental. He sounds like splitting the fucking sky in half. He sounds like, someone's taking all the red Skittles out the bowl. Do you know what I mean? Like he sounds great, and yeah, it's just really good. He's really good. It's a great track. I mean, this is good. I enjoy it very, very much, and you're right, I've been singing it a lot. Alex, what do you think?
I'm not quite into it as much as you, but I do think it's a really fun track. Like, I did right. Paul sounds excellent. I think the drum really works, like super tight, and some really nice, simple but effective fills from Eric, and which is really cool. I really agree with what you said about like the way the track starts. Every time I listen to it, I could never quite. The beginning track, I never quite got into it, and when the chorus hits, it always feels a little bit like, oh God, we're already here, sort of feeling to it. However, and maybe I should have done a better job like trying to like dissect why, but as the song goes on, things seem to fit better into place. It takes a while to get going. Yeah, like toward. Yeah. Once it's in that spot, you're there, and it's a good fun time. But the first 30 to 40 seconds, it always feels just like, oh, okay, yeah, we're doing this now, sort of thing. But I say I'm not into it as much as you. The chorus is like an earworm, and it just,
that's great.
Whatever reason, it just gets stuck into your head. Who wants to be
lonely? Who wants to be with you tonight? Yeah.
Oh, he writes these. This is the music. This is the kind of music, bar like, the odd sort of ones from the, bar like your Love Guns and your 100,000 Years, when they're actually writing, quite, badass hard rock songs. This is the kind of music from them I really like. This is the kind of stuff they should do. Kind of urgent, campy, melodramatic, kind of, earworms. This is what I like. This is what I think they're really, really, really good at, but they just fucking barely do it. Sorry, carry on, Alex.
No, I don't have much to say. I think it is a good chorus. It is a fun chorus, but the rest of the track isn't, for me, it isn't in that top tier for them, or that top level that we now have a few songs from them are. But good. I enjoy it, and it's the all I can think of is the video. I spent so much time watching the video and go, what the hell are they doing?
The video is a distraction. The video does distract from the track. I will agree with that. The track does not save the video. I will go with that. Danny, what you say?
Danny?
It sounds like I generally agree more with Alex. The first thing I wrote was tonight it ends.
Yeah.
Because, so early it's going to be one of those
It's
ones.
one of them, definitely.
And then I wrote nothing so far through the intro and verse. So I was feeling the same thing. On the first listen, the chorus didn't work for me. But I wrote maybe a grower, and it was a grower. The chorus has grown. It's a good chorus, and it's incredibly catchy. I joined a call with Alex just before we started recording this, and I just started singing it very quickly because it's very catchy. Who's singing in the call and response?
Who wants to be lonely? In the video, it's Gene.
Yeah,
In the video, it's Gene. It doesn't sound like Gene, though.
Doesn't sound like shit. I mean, I don't know. This stuff was in, I think, wasn't it? People liked this sort of song at the time. To me, it's not a million to one. And as for the solo, Alexei, yeah, it's actually some of the flashiest soloing we've ever seen, or heard rather. I'm not sure this is the right song. Yeah,
it's not the right song.
I was getting
for it.
worried. Maybe I'm just getting used, God forbid, getting used to the post-Ace era. But also, it's just like the rhythm section just isn't quite right for the guitar solo that's being played. I'm just worried. Maybe how long can I just be impressed by impressive guitar playing? I do think the mix is messy. It was a bit fatiguing, I was finding. But apart from that, it was a catchy song. Yes. Catchy. That's the main takeaway from this. It's a very catchy song. Let's move on to Trial by Fire.
Let's move on. Also, Danny, I just want to say, I do agree with you. It's not as good as Million to One. Not as good as Million to One. Million to One's...
Okay,
yeah, I agree.
well, then we're in agreement.
All right, Trial by Fire. Danny, what are you saying about this this deep cut?
This is a deep cut. I thought near the start, like, oh, are they doing there? You shook me all night long. I don't know when that song came. No, that came out before.
Yeah,
this, so
it's got
maybe they were doing
it's got that
song.
I'm entering the big city for the first time vibe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
cruising around in a car.
There's a big oh yeah in the verse where suddenly everyone is sings it, and that sounds good. There's good harmonies because it's using Paul. But then I put, what a shame, that chorus.
The bridge as well.
It just falls off.
The bridge is terrible.
Yeah, it just falls. Not even the bridge. I took the bridge, man.
What?
But it
Nothing
wasn't
can
great.
stop me now. That bit.
I'm starting to forget. All I remember is the bit where he says Trial by Fire.
Yeah, that bit's awful.
I was like, that's just...
Yeah.
Come on. I really ran out of things to say. I thought after that chorus, I had nothing to say because the whole song fell off. I phased out and it's really boring. It's a real shame, this song. It actually was promising at the start. I like that sort of song, but really disappointing chorus. Alex, what do you think?
Oh God, I'm literally listening to the track right now because I've really forgotten. I wrote notes.
Yeah, but
I've
forgotten what the chorus goes like. I can't remember the chorus. I just remember hating it every time.
The chorus goes.
Yeah, I know, okay.
Oh, I've got it.
Fire.
Trial by Fire. It's
Yeah,
not
I
good.
think again, like I was saying with the other Gene track so far, this has gone back to a certain pace, a certain style of writing, that just with the past few albums, there's been an element of Gene just trying out new stuff, and most of the time it doesn't work. But you can sort of see he's growing more confident in songwriting or whatever thing is. But here it's very forgettable, going nowhere fast sort of songs. I wrote down, I like the ooh yeah backing vocals that I think are on the chorus. I think that might be Paul singing those parts, but they sound really nice. But the chorus itself is just just sort of plods along. And there's also, I remember it now, there's also this very abrupt bridge section, which just halts momentum and just does nothing for the song. You say it's a deep cut. Super forgettable. My God. Alexei,
No, I
do you have
agree.
anything else to add?
No, not really. I think again, it's just a shitty Gene song. I mean, I guess it's better than his average song because in like you guys were saying, or at least I know Danny was saying that the verses have a pretty indestructible chord progression that gets used quite a lot. So
That's true.
So by virtue of that, I guess it's sort of musically is, for Gene, it's what's music in it for Gene. But the bridge is just more janky rock and roll 50s nonsense. Like it's really bad, and the chorus is dull as fuck. I think we should just move on. It's not good. This is bad. I'm actually finding with his songs, particularly because this is the third album, this kind of newer, this is like Gene Mark 3, I guess at this point we're on. And these sort of songs he's writing, they're just the same, and they're so exhausting. And he sings them the same. They have the same sort of vibes. They're usually about the same things and stuff like that. And it's kind of the same thing I got with Rock and Roll Over. I was just like, I just can't talk about this. It's the same shit again and again and again. Like he's falling. It makes me wonder that would a lot of this stuff actually be in the bin normally, or is it that you get so used to like just kind of,
That's true.
you get so used to it.
I don't think it's been one.
I mean, it probably
that's
isn't.
the
No,
point.
I mean, this probably isn't. But fuck me, it's just it gets really hard to kind of pull any sort of critique out of it. Anyway, let's move on. I feel like we'll have more to talk about this next one though. I'm Alive. This is another Paul song. Paul, you need to calm down. Calm down.
Yeah.
Need to calm the fuck
King of
down.
the Mountain, you're alive. Like, my God, man.
This makes King of the Mountain look like fucking look like Beth. Alex, what do you think?
Oh, I kind of shouldn't go to first in this one because I appreciate this one. I appreciate the energy and the style of this one, but I feel as though we had a track like this maybe on like Creatures of the Night or Lick It Up or something.
No, I've said this for like, this is when you talk about the formula. This is the obligatory speed metal track, right? So on the previous album, you had Under the Gun.
This was halfway in.
Yeah. So the previous album you had Under the Gun, and on Lick It Up you had Give Me More. This is like the formula. It really is uncanny that they're like, okay, well we need like the up tempo speed metal one. Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, and with these tracks, I always appreciate like the change of pace, but I never like feel like they really get into the zone of it. Like it feels though like they're ticking boxes in terms of like what these songs have and like what they can do in these songs, but I never really feel as though they're in it. And maybe you guys would disagree with that. Like even Paul, he's singing his nonsense like he does in these songs, and he's so camp and so over the top. Like I love the way this one starts, where he's like, "Let's get 'em, boys." Like it's so ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous tone setter for the song, but it always feels so comical and like it's just sort of like I don't know, pastiche of this sort of sound. It reminded me a lot with I think with the last album, when I was doing some research, they had like one of their full concerts up from like 1984, and I wanted to see like what like was the track listing and just to sort of see what they were doing at that time.
Was that for Animalize?
It
was the Animalize. So I've seen
like
that. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. But did you see like the whole intro to Love Gun? Paul does this really long monologue about him going to the doctors and seeing the sexiest nurse I've ever seen with the biggest tits. And he has this huge monologue about this nurse. The whole thing is his intro to Love Gun.
Yeah, his sorry, it's a bit of a sidetrack, but I should actually talk about it probably more. I might talk about it more moving forward. But his stage banter around this period, particularly on the Unmasked period, is quite notorious for just how bad it is and weird and cringy and rapey.
I'm glad that's a thing.
Yeah.
Because I've been listening to some of their live recordings, and it is unbearable.
There's one where they have a song called Take It Off that comes later, I think it's off Revenge. And he goes,
Somebody asked me, why do you like writing songs about women taking off their clothes? And I thought about it. And I figured, because I like naked women.
it's just fucking... There's one.
I'm very much happy to talk about these going forward. I think.
Yeah, I'll try to kind of, I'll try to drip feed. There's one where he starts doing a Michael Jackson impression, and I'm not making this up. I'll try to find it. There's one where he does a Michael Jackson impression, and it is fucking hell. It's bad. It's very, very bad. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, this song, like the sort of what he's singing about, and like the energy he's given, just reminds me of that pause on stage. It's just very silly. It's very silly. I just don't think that the song is quite there. The chorus is kind of lacking, but Bruce is certainly rocking it. Eric sounds good on the drums. I mean, like it's okay, but it didn't click with me at all. Danny?
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Alex. I put Eric earning his paycheck like right out the gates. He's just really going for it.
Absolutely smashing it.
I'm loving the more mental chromatic guitar stuff that we're getting. It's a really good intro. Like that guitar intro with the drums is great. And again, it's just sort of solidifying Bruce as my favorite Kiss guitarist already because he's just killing it.
Definitely.
The verse passed me by completely. And then it got to the chorus, and I just thought, I wrote, I don't know, Paul, is this chorus the one? Because with Paul, I hold him to a standard with choruses, and I just thought, this isn't impressive to me at all. It's not catchy to me at all. I've forgotten what it goes like now. I couldn't sing it. Oh yeah. That's it. Yeah, like it's like he's still trying to go for a Paul chorus. Like he knows what he can do. But it's I don't know, it's almost phoned in. I'll talk about that more later. I put lovely shred, by the way. Lovely shredding. That's great. I thought that's still there. Nothing else to say. To me, it was actually quite a boring song. I see, I agree, Alexei, you're talking about the energy. Of course, the energy's high. But it's a boring track to me. I've got very little to say about it. So what do you think, Alexei? Tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really like too far. I think I'm a little bit more positive than you guys. I think that... again, this is the obligatory speed metal track, or speed metal adjacent track that they have to have on all their albums. I mean, again, like they kind of turn. I mean, I talk about band envy and stuff like that, and them sort of like assimilating, body snatching over bands and stuff like that. This sounds a lot like, particularly the intro, not the sick intro with Bruce and Eric, but after that, when the opening riff comes into the verse. Just sounds like Live Wire by Motley Crue. Like it's almost like a dead ringer for it, but not as good in my opinion. The guitars are way. Danny, you were talking about the mix. I think the mix is the worst on this song. I think the mix is pretty bad. I think it's incredibly messy. I think the guitars are way too quiet, particularly in the chorus, and the vocals are way too loud. I think that definitely Paul should have gone in harder on the backing vocals in the chorus. They sound quite restrained and reserved. I think he should have gone for more of a Danger vibe with them, just to make them a bit more exciting, maybe a bit more of a Queen thing, a bit more of a stabby operatic thing.
Yeah.
But Eric and Bruce do just kill. They just kill. They sound fucking great. I think of all the kind of speed metal adjacent songs of the past 3 albums, I think this is probably the best, and I think it probably has the best chorus. I think that Paul changing up the vocal melody at the end, as it sort of, is coming to a finish, and Bruce is just kind of shredding in the background, and everyone's really in the pocket, is sweet. I do like the whole end quite a lot. I just think the mix is a fucking mess. So they're all in the pocket. They're all smashing it. There's solos. Paul's throwing all these like vocal melodies out and stuff like that, and really riffing all over the track and doing some cool stuff, things that he doesn't normally do, things that are a bit more melodic, but it's just nothing is occupying the right space. The guitars are way too quiet, the drums are too loud, the backing vocals are way too loud, and he's not giving it enough with the backing vocals either for it to warrant that. I still, though, Having said all that, I do think I could still sort of get on board with it. I think that at the end, when they're absolutely just hammering the shit out of it, it does work well. And I did find myself tapping my foot quite well and kind of going, yeah, they're kind of in it. I think if this had been a live recording, I probably would have been a lot more kinder to it. I think I probably would have preferred it. I just think the mix is fucking rubbish. And I think, like when Danny was saying about this not being a headphones album, I think this is the worst case for it. I agree it's not a headphones album. I think this is the one that works worse on worse on headphones. I can't hear fucking any bass on it really at all either, which might be a good thing if it's Gene playing. So yeah, not
Probably fucking not.
yeah, exactly. No, it won't be. It absolutely 100% won't be. It won't be. It won't be. It'll be Mark St. John with fucking massive hands. Love. The next track though is "Love's a Deadly Weapon." Fucking hell! What is which one is this? It's completely gone. I've written Gene's attempts now. I think this is the really up tempo. This is like Gene's attempt at speed metal, isn't it? It's the kind of really up tempo Gene one.
Yeah,
I can't sing it to you. I'm normally quite good at remembering them as well. Quite remembering their quotes. Danny, what do you think, mate?
Yeah, I got this title as soon as it came on. You know it's gonna be fucking Gene. Not my type of riff. I don't like this sort of riff. I don't know what to call it, but God, again, Bruce just coming out with this beautiful stuff in the intro.
The intro's crazy.
Loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the intro is
again,
good.
and it starts with a riff that I'm not into, but then Bruce he actually does lift that intro. But then it's just the same old fuck off Gene. He's like he discovered how to bend notes sometime towards the end of the 70s, and he just thinks it makes him good to just do these things, and they're so bad.
It's like when he he discovered dissonant chords on Lick It Up, and he kept shoehorning them in certain songs. You know what I mean? It's like he discovers things, and he's like, "Oh, I could do that." Sorry, Karen.
I wrote "This Won't Do, Gene," because just the whole song. It's the same old thing. This isn't good enough.
No, it's not.
And then I put "Bless you, Bruce. You are fucking killing it." But Hendrix couldn't lift this song with the solo. Again, I said he lifted the intro, but the song overall, like Bruce is killing it on the solo, but I can't fuck with it because the song isn't there. And I even wrote, I was writing, it's like there's an inverse relationship between the quality of guitar playing and songwriting with Kiss. Like we can only have one. The better that the songs get, the more kind of nothing the guitar work gets. But if we've got some really good guitar work on it, then the song's probably nothing. That's a theory I'm working on. Anyway, Alexei, what do you think of this? This gem?
Yeah, again, same as you. Just don't like it. I think I put you. This is a bit shit. You need to stop wasting Bruce and Eric because they're killing it. Like, I think that the solo when it's just the bass and guitar and drums, it's kind of nice, but the bass tone is just so bottomy and muddy. You can't tell what actual notes he's playing, which doesn't give the solo context. I mean, maybe they're going for that, that sort of dark light, kind of reckless, kind of frenetic guitar solo thing, but it doesn't really work. I've heard worse from Gene, but it's still not good. It's just not good. Again, I don't know what to say. It's just bad. It's a bad Gene song. He writes bad songs. He's a bad songwriter. He writes bad songs. He sings them badly. That is it. That is it. And they all sound... That's it. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, this is... Yeah, Gene really sucks out, like, anything good from this track. Because it is such a shame, like, we're praising Eric and Bruce. And then there's some other, like, when I look at the list of writers on this track, there's a load of other people on the track as well. I wasn't sure if maybe they were additional guitarists as well, maybe because there's a few different solos in here. But anyway, like, the song at its core is really, really shit, and there's nothing to it. And it's like, you heard us earlier, like, we're trying to remember it and being like, which one, like, what's the chorus here, what's the verse? Like, there's really nothing to grab hold on to except the really awesome guitar work and and drumming that's going on. I was really surprised how much space Gene gave to Bruce on here, because Bruce gets a lot of time actually, and he does a good job. But like you guys are saying, the underlying riff and what's going on, sort of tone of the song, it's just a mess. It's just a mess, and you always feel as though Gene he always feels as though he justifies himself, because at the end of the track he'll do this high note, or he'll do this like long sort of crazy thing. Like on here, he does this really stupid note for his voice at the end, and I always just get the feeling that he feels though if he does that, then it's like he's done a good job. But this is a mess. This is a mess.
Yeah, it's just one of those, isn't it? I mean, we keep saying it. You're in a band with Paul Stanley. How are you even suggesting that you sing a track? Do you know what I mean? You have a fucking brilliant singer in your band.
It's not so much even about the singing. It's more just like the choruses you're putting forward, or just like the songs you're putting forward. They're just. I
do think that his vocals are a huge part of it, though. I don't know whether you guys feel the same thing, but when he comes in on a song, I just go, ugh, because he doesn't have melodies. He just rambles. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't. He's got such a tin ear for melodies and hooks. It's actually quite fascinating.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's not. I mean, he hasn't got a great singing voice, but it's particularly bad that the songs he's putting forward to the band and demanding are on the album, when they're just not at the quality as.
Well, they never have been. They never have been though, from the get go.
Yeah.
I agree.
What? I can't remember. Danny, did you say anything about that track? Are we done with this song?
Yeah.
Okay.
I said it's not
shit.
good.
Okay, we all agree it's shit. Right. Tears Are Falling. Oh, by the way, sorry. There's one more thing I wanted to comment about that previous track. We're talking about the formula, right? The formula of every album.
Yeah.
And the other side to that formula that makes up the track listing are just like shitty Gene songs, pretty much. It's like you have, you know,
What you mean on the B? Not the B side, but like the
just on the album,
sort of
just on the album. I mean, they mostly do crop up on the second side, but I mean, like, you know, let's say you got the good opener, what's the one that's coming up, which is the obligatory minor hit. You got the minor hit, that Tonight It Ends Here, Paul deep cut, the and then all these other kind of beats that they're hitting with these kind of 80s records, and then filling up the rest of the track are just these shitty Gene songs. Do you know what I mean? And that still fits into that formula. Like, none of these songs he's putting on this album, you could say, oh, that's Gene when he was doing Animalize. So this is, again, I said the wrong album. This is Gene when he was doing Asylum. He could have easily been on Animalize. It could have easily been on Lick It Up. Makes no difference.
Yes.
Anyway, Tears Are Falling. Alex, talk me through it. What do you make of this?
Yeah, this is a big hit, and kind of follows a trend.
Maybe not
like
big.
you were saying, Alexei.
Number
And,
58.
the ones I usually don't mind these. The one about this track though, I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I think it's because we talk so much about who Paul is, and like the kind of character he is. But do you not get, like, is this song meant to be kind of sarcastic in his tone?
What do you mean?
Like the whole, like the, oh no, tears are falling. Like, it sounds as though, like, he's being sarcastic.
You little baby.
Like,
Tears of it's raining, better get my umbrella.
I really feel like the story of this song, from the way it's sang and like his tone, is that like they're breaking up this couple because, like, she cheated on him, and like now she's crying, and he's like, oh, you're crying now, sort of thing. Huh, You should have thought about that before you did that thing. Like, that's the feeling I get from this song. I feel like the way he sings it, and I think it is coloured by like how we feel about Paul as a person and how he talks about himself. But I couldn't get past all of this song. I thought it was so strange. Am I the only one here?
I think you're probably right. I didn't feel that because, again, Alex, I'm always amazed how much you're able to get of the lyrics of their music. I think you're onto something, though. I think that's the correct reading. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
It's just, for me, it's just it's a very peculiar way to sing about this sort of thing.
Let me get the lyrics up.
Because then, you lost to find your eyes, you turn to me with a different look, and then it's raining, looks like it's raining. I don't know why, there's something very cold about the way that's written.
It's the oh no.
Yeah, and the oh no especially. Yes, you're right.
Oh no, it's raining.
Oh no, tears are falling. What are we gonna do?
The opening line
Fuck off,
is...
Vinny.
The opening line is, I read your mind like an open book, which again is a very cold sort of thing to say.
It's a bit emotionally abusive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of like, oh, I know the whole situation. Oh, you're crying. Like, you're the emotional one here, sort of thing.
It's like, Paul, if anyone's the emotional one, it's you, mate.
But okay. Sorry, I also wrote a lot about the video for this one because it's really, really funny. Did you see the beginning of the video, Alexei, where like the girl is dramatically like pulling down the curtains and Paul is in the corner staring at the wall?
No, hang on, wait, I haven't seen the video in years. I was only going off the video from memory. Hang on, tears are...
Please watch it. It's very strange direction. Like, they have like Paul looking at in like a corner, like he's like ignoring what's happening or something like that.
Are the videos on... Is the video on YouTube? It's not...
Yeah,
I'm watching it now.
It's not... It's come up. Wait, is it because I got restricted? Why is... Some results are hidden because restricted mode is on. What's so untoward?
What's going on with your fucking browser, man?
Fucking no. Why have I got restricted mode on? Let's have a look. It's not coming up. It's all that fucking porn. I found it. It's fine. I found a version of it. This version only has 257 views. Let's have a look then. Oh yeah. These kind of green hands are flashing in front of her face. She's crying.
Yeah, it's like when she's pulling on.
Oh yeah.
Curtains, he's just staring into a corner.
Is he just there? Why is he? Oh wait, no, I haven't seen it. What's he doing?
You can't see me.
That's like when a 3-year-old plays hide and seek and they just think no one can see them.
Yeah. I can't see you, so you must
not
be able to see me.
This is exciting. Yeah, there's kind of like a tropical theme, right?
Well, yeah, this one really confused me because they're on like a tropical island, but then there's TVs scattered everywhere.
I don't see any TVs.
Yeah.
You know what I've noticed in all these videos? Gene is playing bass with his fingers and not with a pick. He's been doing that in all these videos so far. There's a cup of tea that explodes. Have you seen that?
Alex, what do you think of the song?
Paul's range here is crazy high, and I'm always amazed he can sing that high. But I think in sort of the big ballads they've done, this one doesn't quite work for me. And I think it's because I couldn't quite get past that kind of thought I had about it, or like the tone that they're trying to go for. But Paul's wails are as good as ever. The guitar work sounds really good, and it's kind of there to back up Paul really nicely. And then the solo's really nice too, like kind of like very melodic, very kind of purposeful, which I really like from Bruce a lot in this album.
I wrote "Must Be Paul," even the title.
Oh yeah.
I thought this has got to be Paul, and I heard it. I thought the intro. And I was like, oh, this has got to be like a "Please Be a Million to One," but then it comes in with this like Mixolydian verse that says otherwise, and I felt, God, I completely misread the opening riff, and I think that leads into your point, Alex. Actually, this isn't a genuine, heartfelt ballad. I think there's something cynical here. There's something, like you said, sarcastic going on. Because the verse is kind of not happy, but you know what I mean? It's more like a rocking verse than a ballady sort of powerful verse. But then the chorus comes in, and I'll be honest, I wasn't feeling this chorus when it first came in. Like Who Wants to Be Lonely, it did grow on me when I listened to it again. But I just thought, I mean, this sounds more damning than I mean it to be. But I wrote, Paul's always just been churning them out, and I'm worried that he's starting to phone it in more. If Paul isn't going to put in the effort, then we are really fucked.
Yeah, in massive trouble.
And that sounds harsher than I mean it to, but it's like, because this isn't a bad Paul chorus by any means. It's got that power to it. And the riff works. I think the riff that, the intro riff that comes back in the chorus is well used. But I just thought, is this the one? Again, is this Paul's standard? Is this... This isn't a million to one. I know I shouldn't hold him to that standard, but there's a lot that are better than this. Even the solo passed me by a little bit on the first listen. Again, when I listened again, both the chorus and the solo, I kind of felt, well, I should mention that they are kind of good, credit where it's due. But still, I just put, it's all right, but you know what I mean? So, Alexei, what do you think?
I kind of agree with you, really. Again, this is the kind of obligatory minor hit that has to be, on these albums. Sort of like the Lick It Up, Heaven's on Fire, that sort of thing. I've noticed something, actually, with all the hits on all 3 albums, this included, they're all very, very undynamic and very chuggy. Do you know what I mean? They kind of don't really, nothing gets taken away. No, they're all kind of like chuck, 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 chuck. They'll kind of go at that tempo. Maybe not Heaven's on Fire, actually. That's kind of more like choppy, isn't it? It's a bit more AC/DC. This is like Danny said, actually, this is almost a Tonight It Ends Here song, but then the vocals come in and he sings it very high and kind of very effectively. He doesn't kind of give it the same gravitas that he does his other songs, and it gives it a very different feel. It gives it more of kind of like rolling on satin bed sheets kind of feel. It's not the same. It doesn't really work for me. It's definitely not as good as Heaven's on Fire or Lick It Up. I think he should stay out of the high range. I really don't think it suits him very, very well. I think the Falling from Rain vocal melody in the outro is pretty cool. He's doing a lot of alternative melodies there in the fade out, which is cool. And in fact, on the whole album, he's doing a lot of alternative sort of melodies over the fade out. Maybe he's doing them a bit too much. Sort of start to expect them as the track's fading out. He'll be like, whoa, whoa, you know what I mean? And it does kind of just decrease its value if he keeps doing it. But I think this is all right. Of their kind of hits from the 80s, I think it's probably one I don't really like too much. It's all right. It's okay. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Who Wants to Be Lonely, but it's all right. Right. Secretly Cruel. He's stolen the riff for this, at least the beginning bit, from Mr. Speed. Do you not think? At least it's the same vibe. Okay, that's fair enough. If you don't remember, it's been that fucking long ago. Yeah, this is rubbish. I guess it's kind of more of a song. It's just kind of boring hair metal saloon music. His songs are just so nothingy. And it's really hard, like I said, to pull any kind of analysis out of them. It's just bad. Like half of his cuts, are just bad. Like the lyrics are just kind of sexist and wank. It's hair metal, boring saloon music, and that's all I've really got to say about it. It's not very good. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, for a previous song, someone hinted at the idea of a kiss bin, and this was a song that came to my head in the sense that it's so lazy and it's just so boring, and I really thought we were past this from the band. Like
This is his most
even-
dated. Yeah, that he sounded in the 80s.
Yeah,
This is the
it
most
is dated, but also we heard this song so many times from before the solo albums. Actually, a bit before then, like Dress to Kill, Hard and Hell, and all of that. Like we heard this kind of track so many times, and even like it felt as though they brought Peter Criss back for this because the pacing of the drums, and even towards the end we get some cowbell. And if you guys play that over, like we get some freaking cowbell in it, and it.
Oh yeah,
instantly brought
yeah.
Yeah, I really don't have much to say, but like, if we were gonna put anything from this album in the Kiss bin, I'd say this one, just sort of out of like more principle, just like, come on, guys, like
Resentment.
this shouldn't be anywhere near like a finished album sort of thing. Like they sound bored on the track as much as we do.
I don't think it's as bad as like Dance All Over Her Face off Lick It Up or Burn Bitch Burn.
Yeah,
I'll
you're
think
probably
of- I think
right. I just
I think it's better. It's better
Yeah.
than those. It's just again, this is why it's kind of hard. You can't even really, it's not like, something off Music for the Elder or his solo albums where they're just so preposterously bad that you can, or Great Expectations where you can just talk about it endlessly, or, or a song where he's, admitting to wanting to have sex with kids or something like that, like Christmas 16.
oh.
It's not like that. It's just shit. It's just stock Gene, and it's just shit and
Lazy.
lazy and shit and boring. That's
you
why
say
it's
that,
very, very,
but there's
very
always-
difficult.
You say that, but that is always there. Like even this is not. He doesn't say explicitly like this is an underage girl, but like the sort of way he talks about women, and
The leering,
the way he
leering.
frames them is always You always think that in your head, like, oh, this is the type of person Gene is singing about, or like the type of situation he's imagining. So even though he's not saying it directly, that's always in the back of your mind.
I think this
I'm
is.
agreeing with what you're saying, Danny.
Yeah, I mean it's. Yeah, sorry, Danny, what you say?
I put Gene, I'd bet anything as soon as it started, and I was right. I wrote Gene, it's 1985. What the fuck?
What
are
the?
you
Yeah,
doing?
in it. What the fuck are you doing?
I put. It's interesting you mentioned the bit, Alex. I put God. This is probably one of his best on the album as well. But to me, it's all very close in quality. That's not me even particularly disagreeing with the bin because, to me, I'm on. It's all on the cusp of falling into the bin anyway. All of these Gene songs. Even Bruce is trying to match, like, this tone by like toning the speed down, but I don't know. I mean, it's the best part of the song still, that solo, but it can't lift it. And then I just wrote, I don't like music that sounds like this.
No.
And I think that's all there is
No,
to say.
I agree. I would love to be, to say, to sit with Gene Simmons and be like, this kind of like junk, 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 that kind of 50s rock and roll riff sort of thing. Who is telling you that it's like really good? Like who's telling you that like it's great, that it's a really good sound? It sounds fucking great. Sounds really, really good. Like,
Just
who's
something
telling
he
you that?
learned when he was younger, that like this was like a winning formula, and he just
Yes.
in these moments where he doesn't spend that much time writing, he just goes back to that formula and goes,
He
"This works."
reverts back. Yeah, he's just like, well, this is the winning formula. Like according to who? Like
I think he, even in fairness to him, legitimately, as a child, heard some very new music at the time and was inspired by it. But I think he has never had that feeling ever again. I think he became a boomer.
no, I agree.
Like
It's
the age of
I
20.
agree. It's very boomery. It's very. It's like, well, you can't.
It was all
you
new
can't
shit.
beat that classic
Yeah.
sound. You can't beat that classic
Yeah.
Jerry Lewis slugs. It's like, well, yes, you fucking can.
That's it. It's definitely that. You can't beat that classic sound.
It is. That's exactly what it is. It's so boomery.
He's
It's
the fucking Rick Beato of fucking of the 70s.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not like that. Rick Beato at least likes. He likes. Tool. He likes Tool, I guess. I don't know.
Insufferable conversation now. Can you imagine those two?
I'd love to hear them talk.
I'm gonna look it up, but I'll pass this on to you, Danny. Radar Love. What do you think of this?
Oh yeah, this one I put Paul. Well, you just discovered Zeppelin or something.
Yeah.
I wrote, okay, I like the massive before the chorus, which I don't even remember. But I put Paul is really not on his chorus game on this album. I complimented Bruce again, just talk about, we've used the word purposeful a lot with Bruce. I think that's really where he shines in comparison to the previous two guitarists. And I phased out every time I listen to this. This is a real low point for a Paul song. Alex, what do you think?
Can I just interrupt? Rick Beato has don't know what makes this song great on Kiss, but there is a 23-minute video called Answer/Comment to Rick Beato, Stop Ignoring Kiss, by a man called Alexander Minikis. I don't know how you suppose that. Minikis, who's trying to plead to him to stop ignoring Kiss and, cover it. So, yeah, but it's there if you want it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch
that guy on the podcast.
We should get him on the podcast.
Can we try and get... Yeah, you said about the Zeppelin thing there, Danny. Like, I assumed from the beginning of this track, like, this was a cover, because for whatever reason, like, it sounds so familiar. The chords used and the way Paul sings that opening verse, it sounds like is it a Zeppelin song? Anyway, I can't quite remember it, but he's clearly going for something here. But like you're saying, Danny, it doesn't hit, and like the chorus is so underbaked. Like it needs another line, it needs another part or something, but it just flies by, and there's nothing to grab hold of it. You're right, it just isn't there. But at least we can hold on to the fun swooshing drum things, though, which is a sign of the times. And then it's got that sort of double time rock out section towards the end, which it's nice, and like they sound pretty tight and rocking, but it isn't enough to save the track. Yeah, a bit of a throwaway towards the end of the album, which they kind of like to do. Alexei?
See, when we talk about the formula, like the formulaic kind of beats that they're hitting on these albums, this is the you can get or you can take, sort of a bit like All Hell's Breaking Loose, but nowhere near as good because it's not got the rapping in it. This is the Zeppelin. This is the Zeppelin-y, bluesy, kind of stomping riff, jammy thing. It's nowhere near as good as Hell's Breaking Loose, obviously. I guess it's a bit better than You Can Get or You Can Take. It's okay, but I agree. It's just not. It's just not brilliant. It's really, really not. I mean, the chorus is quite big, I guess. The double time bit is not earned at all, in my opinion. It really, really isn't. But the playing is decent. The playing is decent. I just think that, other than Keep Me Coming off Creatures, this style just doesn't really suit him. I don't think he's that good at it, and I think he's just sort of the kind of Zeppelin aping. It doesn't really work. I think that there were a lot of bands at this time that were doing this kind of thing, the kind of like, choppy, snare hit, big chorus thing, and it really doesn't have much of an identity. It's very, very uninspired. It's not exactly terrible. It's just it's just really, really not great. Very boring. A very weak one from Paul and quite disappointing. So, the last track on this album is All Night. When you talk about the formula of these records, this is the obligatory disappointing closer, and this is exactly what it is. It's a disappointing closer. you know, there is a positive that it's better than both of Gene's closers on the previous two albums. It is better than that, but that's really, really not saying much. I think that, again, just to sum up best, it's a bad closer. It's a disappointing closer. It does not work as a closer. It's quite a messy track. The chorus kind of is sort of too wordy and quite annoying as well. Also, the is just horrible. It sounds awful. Look at it's just not pleasant to listen to. Danny, what are you saying?
I wrote, "What is Paul Stanley? Listen to this. Who writes this?"
Yeah, it's shit.
I'm just amazed by him. I think, again, like so many on this album, it's pretty good groundwork laid in the intro verse and even the bridge, only for a very disappointing chorus. This is not the banger it wants to be. I had the least to say about this than any of the other tracks on the album. Alex?
Just to interrupt that. Like, you know, like as a hook as well. Could you imagine anyone singing this? You know, and like having it in their heads, like being
not catchy.
Yeah, like being in a club and going "Work all day and the boogie all night." It's just like, no, obviously not. You know, like A.B. with Tears of Falling.
I can imagine like Middle America, sort of like, I don't know, like truckers, like sort of thinking this is the funniest sort of shit, you know?
Maybe they'd probably see the video and want to fuck Paul Stanley, probably.
Call in my truck.
I kind of agree, guys. I'm not as harsh on this one though. Like, this whole album has been like a kind of childish, sort of bit of a mess of an album, sort of in good and bad. Like, they're in this very playful zone, and they're not like writing any like big serious songs. And this just kind of fits. They wanted another big live chant song, which they, you know, so desperately want more of. At least this one, I don't know, it's a bit fun. Like, I don't think they're taking themselves seriously at all here, and it's, I don't know, I think this one is better than some of the previous sort of anthems that they've gone for. Like, I prefer this to like Love It Loud. Was it Love It Out Loud, like the Gene one, which, you know. Yeah, but you guys, all right, overall it's not great, and it's not catchy enough, and this was the one track where we couldn't even like point to Bruce or somebody else and go, well, at least they brought a lot to it. This one, it lives and dies on the chorus, and it isn't there. That's it.
Yep. And with that,
closing thoughts.
That's another album. Listen to forever. That is now. Thoughts overall. What thoughts overall? Danny, what do you do you love it or do you love it? What do you make of this this work?
Their music is getting better and more boring.
Yeah.
And what that sounds like.
That's a very
sounds like
interesting
I'm
question.
making. Well, it sounds like I'm making a more common point, which is right. A band can sort of, or music can lose its, raw feeling and soul once you start adding more like, professionalism or technical ability. And I don't think I'm saying that. I'm saying I don't think they're losing their soul or feeling so much as they're losing their mythos and variety. And I'll explain what I mean by that. We got a good drummer and a good guitarist, and we lost interest in the band dynamic because we know it's a totalitarian state now. We've lost the Beatles' business model. I realized that on this album. So,
it's more
for
Simon
better or
and
for
Garfunkel
worse, I was
now.
always I was excited to hear Ace and Peter songs in the past. They added more than just their instrument roles. And for as brilliant as Eric and Bruce are, they are adding their roles as instrumentalists. I'm sure that's unfair that they're contributing to songwriting as well. But you know what I mean? We're not getting, like the Beatles, you'd get a George song, you'd get a Ringo song, you'd get a bunch of John and Paul songs. And we had that on some Kiss albums, the early ones. We got those changes. I need to emphasize again that, look, having like good drum fills and really sick guitar playing is very fucking welcome. So I guess there's just pros and cons along the way. I really feel like I reached a point with this album where I was writing less and I was phasing out a lot here. It's probably due to its similarities to the past two albums.
Yeah, I think that.
And I do feel like I want to rank this lower than maybe it even deserves, just because of where I am with it now. That feels unfair to Bruce, especially because I almost want to put this album below the previous two, even though I think the guitar work is better. It's all connected to what I've been saying for a while about this weird way that they're aging and they're kind of getting better, but we are losing. Like I said, I've been watching lots of their live shows, or listening rather, and watching a bit, having them on in the background, of their like live shows on YouTube, and there is something good about the original lineup, and I hate saying that because there's so much I don't miss.
Wow.
There's so much I don't
Yeah,
miss.
definitely.
And we need to remind ourselves of all that stuff. But I think I've made my point clear. I think I've made clear why it's hard for me to balance these two versions of Kiss that we're seeing. So, I don't know. Alex, what do you think about this album?
Yeah. I get what you're saying, though. Even though the individual parts are largely better in terms of like the playing, and we criticized Gene a lot on this one, but like it wasn't that bad. Like his songs, like it wasn't like the Kiss bin tracks that we've had before. But yeah, the album as a whole doesn't quite work, and like you're saying, there definitely feels to be some magic lost, or I definitely feel Paul is losing a spark or some inspiration or something. And I'm curious, I noticed this last time, but I'm seeing it again. After this album, it's going to be the biggest break we've had since we've started. Since they've started. So it's always been like 2 albums a year or 1 album every year. But for the next album, there's going to be a two-year gap.
There's a reset, kind of.
I feel as though they need that, because they're just in this.
That's true.
Rut. Like we've talked so much about like just the formula they've in, and just the type of songs we're getting. Like even Paul, for how hard he tries, and how he does very well, but it's all very similar. The one big bright point though, Alexei, is the guitar work, which Bruce has really put his stamp down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
On the songs, and you hear it and you go, "Oh, this is different." It's different, but it fits in into the song. Like he is really considering the type of song that is in front of him and trying his best to it. Yeah, so Danny, you were talking a little bit about where we should place it. I do have this feeling it should go under Animalize, even though I do feel have very similar feelings.
Maybe directly below it.
Yeah. Yeah. Alexei, what do you think?
Alexei, what do you think? Yeah.
Well, again, I'm kind of similar to you guys, to be honest. I think that Eric and Bruce sound great. I think they sound fantastic. They just don't have a lot to work with, and they don't have a lot to give themselves to. I think this just follows the same trends as the previous two albums. They'll usually have one hit, which is usually a bit quite competent, and it's usually a minor hit. They usually have a good, sometimes great deep cut, which would be like 1,000,000 to 1 Feels in the Night. For me, Who Wants to Be Lonely. They usually have decent or good openers, disappointing closes, Paul trying to be Led Zeppelin, and Gene just sort of dribbling on every other track. Like the real question for me is like, of that run of those 3 run of album, the run of 3, Lick It Up, Animalize, and this. And bearing in mind on the ranking, they're quite close together. Dynasty just splits them up. where does it fit? Because essentially these are the same albums, just like whether it does have a quality of song. I mean, maybe, Lick It Up, you sort of see through rose-tinted glasses a little bit because it was the first time. And I mean, I say that though, but I do think there's like 4 very decent tracks off Lick It Up, and I don't think there is here. And I don't necessarily think there is on Animalize. I think that, it's tricky. I think I would put this above Animalize and below Dynasty, as it's, I don't necessarily think it's got the worst Gene songs on it. This one, I think Animalize had worse Gene songs on it. Also, I really like the playing on this one. Eric especially. I think that he gets to show off a lot, which is great. As a whole listening experience, it's very paint by numbers for Kiss, and I get that, you're listening to 3 albums on the trot by them, and it's not a winning formula either. That's the problem. It's not a winning formula. If it was, you could have a bit more truck with it. You'd just be like, oh, they're running out of ideas now. But I do think that the highs, I think, are better than they are for Animalize. Maybe Animalize, you've got Heaven's on Fire, Thrills in the Night. Those are the only 2, and the opener. The opener's all right. Heaven's on Fire is good in my opinion. Thrills in the Night is great. This has kind of got a better opener. Yeah, I would just put this above Animalize. But you know what? I mean, something that we haven't discussed. Can you do joints? Can you do joint placings? No.
That's sacrilege. That's sacrilege. No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. It's out of the question. Because I would happily put this joint with Animalize. Okay.
No, listen to you, Alexei. I think you've swayed me. I think we should put it above Animalize. I think it's because it's number 3 that I was thinking about putting it below. I was just looking at the track lists. I really think I'm just getting bored of the sound.
I know.
Of this trilogy that they've done.
Proper bored. This kind of was very much had a rock and roll over effect on me. Quite a bit. Not as bad as that one because that one was like 4 albums deep. Do you know what I mean? This was at least was just the 3rd. Yeah, I mean, I would happily put it.
I think above Animalize, below Dynasty. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I'm going back and forth on it. Either above or below Animalize. I say above. The guitar work was very good. I think that just puts it above.
Well, that is true.
Is that where it's going?
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's stick it in. So next time, we have Crazy Nights. I'm very, very much looking forward to doing that.
Oh yeah.
So that's an album I know. That's an album I know incredibly well. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I have a little something that I've been hiding till the end to spring up on you guys. Bit of a curveball. But the other day, I happened to come across a list of Gene Simmons' top 10 favorite albums of all time. Are you curious to know what they are?
Yes.
Yeah, do you want me to read them? Okay.
Go on.
Okay. Ray Charles' Greatest Hits, The Beatles, The White Album,
Greatest
Jeff
hits.
Beck,
Okay.
Truth/Beckola, Dave Clark 5, Greatest Hits, Patsy Cline, Greatest Hits, ABBA, Greatest Hits, Led Zeppelin, James Brown, 20 all-time Greatest Hits, The Who, Tommy, and very last, Kiss, Destroyer.
No.
Yes.
Destroyer. Fucking Great Expectations on it.
Right. More wanker. Anyway, what should we sing?
Tears Are Falling. No, fucking what's the other one called?
Who Wants to Be Lonely?
Who Wants to Be Lonely?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So lonely, yeah.
3, 2.
Okay, I gotta.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Who wants to be lonely? Who wants to be lonely tonight? Who wants to be lonely tonight?
What are you doing?
Right, I'll hit pause.